Cheats. They exist in all games. Teleportation, flight, immortality, infinite money, and many other features add fun to single-player games and allow you to play by your own rules. And while such features may seem amusing in single-player games, they severely disrupt gameplay in multiplayer environments. Developers cannot always foresee every flaw in the code, which cheaters actively exploit. But have you ever wondered why many cheat features can't be implemented in CS2? Or can they? As you may know, the main difference between single-player and multiplayer games lies in where the game data is stored. In single-player games, character data, such as health and money, is stored on the player's computer in a save file or RAM. This makes them vulnerable to modification using special programs. In multiplayer games like CS2, it's completely different. Character data, such as health or coordinates, isn't stored on the player's computer. Instead, all critical calculations are performed on the server, a powerful central computer that processes all essential game data and synchronizes it among players. Almost always, the server is the sole source of truth, verifying and reconciling players' actions. This makes it extremely difficult to directly manipulate core game parameters using cheats. Let's take a closer look at how the server works. When a player performs actions like jumping or shooting, the computer gathers data, current location, speed, camera angle, and so on. All this information is packaged into a small data packet, a sort of message, and sent to the server. The server receives the data packet and begins verifying its validity. It checks whether the data in the packet matches the allowed values. Depending on this, it either applies the changes or rejects and ignores them. For instance, when a character is shot, the opponent's client sends data about the shot, which the server processes, registering the hit and adjusting the character's health accordingly. If we try to keep our health unchanged at this moment, the server won't accept the alteration. It already holds the correct data showing that the damage was dealt. Once the server has either accepted or rejected an action, it sends the updated information to all clients, health points, player coordinates, and so on. This ensures synchronization among users. Server validation of player actions significantly limits the potential for cheats in multiplayer games. Only the server can change game values, preventing any unauthorized modifications by a single player. But does this mean CS2 cheats from single-player games are impossible? Let's imagine a classic money cheat. Remember the legendary He So Yam code from GTA? Enter the code, and you get lots of money. It would be amusing to implement something like this in CS2, but unfortunately, it's impossible. But why? In CS, the game economy is entirely controlled by the server. It accurately tracks how much money each player earns and why, winning a round, planting a bomb, or killing an opponent. All these calculations occur exclusively server-side and are synchronized with the client. If a player tries to change the amount of money on their computer, the server simply ignores the changes. It relies solely on its own calculations, disregarding any external interference. This is why increasing money in CS is impossible. Or is it? Yes. In CS2, there was a bug that allowed players to get any weapon for free by entering a console command. But this was due to a game oversight, not a cheat. So no, you can't create a money cheat in CS2. But what about another classic, an immortality cheat? In CS2, the server stores information about every hit and the player's health. Even if a client tries to modify the health value, the server ignores these changes, leaving them as mere visual effects. Thus, achieving immortality is simply impossible. The same strict server validation applies to other parameters, such as player positions. However, despite the rigorous server control, there are cunning ways to bypass the system and enable certain cheat features. For example, teleportation. How is this possible? In February 2024, an intriguing vulnerability related to coordinate handling was discovered in CS2. It allowed players to teleport to the 0 coordinates of the map. How did this happen? The cheat didn't enable direct teleportation. It merely set deliberately incorrect camera coordinates on the client, ones that couldn't normally be reached. The server, not expecting such data, sometimes processed it incorrectly, moving the player to the 0-point coordinates. This isn't true teleportation, but rather a method of tricking the system through data misinterpretation. Such bugs arise from inadequate server validation or improper exception handling. What other ways are there to fool the server? Consider the example of weapon spread. In shooters like CS2, shooting accuracy depends on various factors: distance to the target, player movement, jumping. The worse the conditions, the greater the spread, making it harder to hit. But what if a cheat eliminates the spread entirely? Does this mean we're changing game parameters? Actually, it's not that simple. In CS2, data about spread is stored on the client to correctly display visual shooting effects, but the spread itself is calculated server-side. The server determines the exact bullet trajectory based on standard spread parameters and player actions. The client merely displays the results. However, there is a feature called no spread that allows precise shooting regardless of conditions. Does this remove the spread? Not really. Instead, the cheat calculates the spread using known parameters and adjusts the aim so the bullets hit the target despite deviations. Essentially, the cheat predicts and compensates for the spread rather than altering it. By the way, we've made a separate video about this feature, which we highly recommend watching. Another popular feature was rapid fire, which has been patched, but it's been replaced by double tap. The core idea of this exploit is to manipulate the player input history during attack commands. Essentially, the program disrupts the attack timer, tricking the server. From everything we've said earlier, we can conclude the following. We don't truly teleport or alter game parameters. Instead, we modify client-side data or deceive the server using system vulnerabilities. Such exploits arise because the server doesn't rigorously validate all transmitted data, or the developers overlook potential manipulation. This is why such cheat features is essentially bug abuse. But after hearing about such strict limitations, like all data is stored on the server, you might reasonably ask, then how does ESP work? Doesn't the server also store data about player positions? In CS2, the server strictly controls every player's position and actions, preventing any attempts to manipulate game data. However, to ensure smooth rendering of enemy movements, it transmits data about all players, even those outside visible range, their coordinates, state, direction, weapon, health, and other parameters. The client needs this data to prepare animations and synchronize events, ensuring players see consistent movements as enemies come into view. Since this data is stored in the client's RAM, cheat programs can intercept the memory to extract hidden information and overlay visual elements on the screen, showing enemy positions and states. Thus, ESP doesn't alter server-transmitted data, it simply reads and visualizes it, turning hidden information into an in-game advantage. When it comes to one of the most popular cheat features, aimbots, the situation is similar. All manipulations occur on the client side. The cheat reads enemy positions from game memory, then uses special algorithms to automatically aim at the target. Such cheats leverage data about enemy coordinates transmitted from the server to the client for accurate display. It's important to understand that aimbots don't alter game data or interact directly with the server. They merely intercept and adjust aiming functions based on information already present in the device's memory. This is why detecting aimbots relies on anti-cheat systems, which can track unnatural aim movements or statistically anomalous shooting accuracy. Moreover, the server validates only the data crucial to gameplay. This is why players can locally modify their game world to display any weapon skins. For other players, these changes remain invisible because the server doesn't transmit this data to other clients. Game developers, including those of major titles like CS2, continually work to improve server checks and security. However, it's impossible to completely prevent cheats since any system is created by humans, and humans make mistakes. Each new version of the game may introduce bugs that skilled cheat developers can exploit. Ultimately, exploits don't change game parameters due to strict server control. Instead, they leverage bugs or data manipulations that the server allows due to developer oversight. Server-side validation makes features like immortality or money cheats impossible, but the cheats we see today are about bypassing restrictions by exploiting system vulnerabilities. Nonetheless, developers continued their efforts. While cheaters look for new system weaknesses, game developers strive to improve anti-cheat measures and fix bugs. But no matter how hard both sides try, one thing remains constant. Fair play will always be the ultimate goal for those who genuinely value competitive spirit, and the satisfaction of winning through their own efforts. Thank you for watching. This has been the Never Lose team. Stay tuned for more insights in our upcoming videos.